Hey, it's Joel from Wheelco. Today we're replacing a wheelbarrow wheel. A wheelbarrow wheel is normally held on by an axle and then U-bolts onto the chassis. So we have to start undoing the U-bolts. Handy bit of equipment for this is a ratchet, a drill, your standard crescent. So loosening off all the nuts to undo the U-bolts, pull them out, and then the axle will come free. The whole wheel will come free. So if you can't get your U-bolts undone, they're just too rusted up, you might have to cut them off, but don't worry because Wheelco can supply U-bolts, nuts, new axles, spacers, etc. So we have the wheel off the barrow. Normally there'll be a spacer on each side, keeping it from wobbling or hitting the chassis. So take these off and then take the axle out. Now as you can see, it's a bit rusted in, so you might need to tap it with a hammer or spray some WD-40, CRC, etc. on there. Normally a few light taps encourages the axle to come out. Some of the critical measurements we need when replacing a wheelbarrow wheel is the diameter, so that's the height from here to here. You'll need a tape measure to get the height. Another measurement you will need is the hub width. That's from the outside of one side of the wheel through the hub to the outside of the other side of the wheel. The easiest way to do this is with a pair of calipers by poking the needle through until it comes out flush with the other side. Another way to measure your hub width through the wheel, if you do not have a pair of calipers, is just use a screwdriver or a pen. So it's the same method, poke it through the center of the wheel till it gets to the outside, flush, then on this side, pinch it approximately where it's flush, and then use a standard tape measure to get that measurement. The next critical measurement when replacing a wheelbarrow wheel is to get the inside diameter of the bearing or the axle diameter. So you can either measure the inside of the bearing or you can measure the axle. Again, best bit of equipment is a pair of calipers to measure the axle, or get it to measure the inside of the bearing. Either way will give you the measurement of the axle diameter. These measurements ensure that when we get our replacement wheelbarrow wheel, the wheel fits in the existing chassis of the wheelbarrow and also fits the existing axle. So when it comes to choosing a replacement wheelbarrow wheel, you might be confused with steel or plastic rim, bearing or bush, nylon bush. So essentially, you have the same tyre and tube, 400 by 8, so 400 diameter, but with different rims. Normally best practice is to go with what you've got or what you're replacing, so like for like. When it comes to the two rim types, both have their pros and cons. Some like the plastic because it doesn't rust, but then potentially you have breaking down of the rim if it's left in the sun. Some like the steel as it's stronger, but then you have the con of it potentially rusting. When it comes to bearings or a nylon bush, bearings essentially allow you to move the barrow a lot easier when under load, whereas a nylon bush is better from the perspective of it won't rust and is good for just for very light duty. So we've found our new replacement wheelbarrow wheel. We've established it's got the right diameter, so the height from here to here. Established it's got the right bearing size or bearing internal diameter. This wheel, however, is a little bit wider in the hub. So from here through the wheel to here. So this wheel has a hub width of 80 millimeters, and our last wheel, as you remember, was 58 millimeters. So that's an extra 22 millimeters of width in the hub. More on how to fix that a bit later. Start by putting the axle back into your new wheel. Now it may be a tight fit and may need some encouragement with a hammer. Get it to about center, like so. Just for illustration purposes, I'm going to show you how the extra hub width affects your existing spaces. So if we were to use our existing spacers, put them on like so, you can see how the extra length is going to interfere with the axle when we fix it back on with the U-bolts. Best way to do it here is just to chop off a little bit of the spacer to bring it back away from this recess. Existing 58mm hub width, now gone to a wider 80, is 22mm, which means we need to take 11mm off each spacer. Mark out the length you need to cut, hold it tight in a vise, using a hacksaw, cut the required amount off. However, if you do make a mistake or need other spacers, please check out our website. Right, so here we have the two spacers cut down, showing that when they go on now, they're the right length so we can get the U-bolts on and have the wheel not slopping around. However, if you don't have the tools or time to cut down spacers, there's a lot of other things you can use to take up that slop. You can use a whole lot of washers, nylon bushes, bits of old pipe, whatever you can to put it on there, because it's crucial to stop the wheel when under load from going side to side and then touching your chassis. We've got the wheel centralised there. Put the U-bolt back in, ensuring it's through this support bar. Tighten the nuts up like so, ensuring they're nice and tight. So if your axle or U-bolts or spacers end up damaged or rusted on or unusable, don't worry, we have new ones right here in our shop. We have new axles, we have the spacers, and we have the U-bolts all ready to go in stock. So that was a video on how to replace your wheelbarrow wheel. For more information, jump onto our website or give us a call.